The station's air tasted like rust and ozone. Xal'thera's 4 eyes scanned the crowded marketplace, filtering through species she'd hunted for 4 decades. Humans. Always humans lately. This one would be her last before retirement, and the bounty was obscene. 8 million credits for Commander Elena Voss, wanted across 12 systems for sabotage, assassination, and treason against the Galactic Council. Xal'thera's targeting implant highlighted a figure near the docking bay entrance. Brown hair pulled back, average height for a human, wearing a gray flight jacket that had seen better years. The face matched perfectly. After 15 years of chasing fragments and shadows, Elena Voss stood 40 meters away, completely exposed. Too easy. The thought crystallized as Xal'thera moved through the crowd. In 4 decades, she'd learned that easy meant trap. But her scanner showed no weapons, no backup, no surveillance watching the human woman. Elena stood alone, checking the datapad like she had all the time in the universe. Xal'thera closed to 20 meters. Elena looked up. Their eyes met across the marketplace chaos, and something impossible happened. The human smiled. Not the smile of someone caught, but the smile of someone who'd been waiting. Then Elena turned and walked, not ran, walked, toward the docking bays. The chase began there, on that rusted station at the edge of Sector 9. Xal'thera pursued through the docking bay, her pulse rifle ready, but Elena's ship was already lifting off when she arrived. The human had timed it perfectly, down to the second. As the vessel cleared the station, Xal'thera's scanner picked up a data packet transmitted directly to her implant. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a single file, Elena Voss's flight plan for the next 3 jumps. Xal'thera had hunted hundreds of targets. None had ever given her their escape route. She checked the data for viruses, traps, hidden code. Nothing. Just clean navigation coordinates leading to a mining colony in the Terek system. The human was either monumentally stupid or playing at games Xal'thera didn't understand yet. She chose to follow. The trail led to Terek 7, a mining colony carved into an asteroid. Xal'thera arrived 2 days behind Elena, expecting an ambush. Instead, she found the human in a public cantina, sitting at the bar with her back exposed, drinking something amber-colored. Xal'thera entered with her weapon drawn. The other patrons scattered. Elena didn't turn around. "Took you long enough," Elena said, her voice carrying clearly in the sudden silence. "I expected you 12 hours ago. You're under arrest," Xal'thera announced, her translator rendering the words in flat Galactic standard. "Resisting will result in..." Aliens spun off the bar stool with liquid grace, a flash grenade already leaving her hand. Xal'thera's combat reflexes saved her, diving behind a metal pillar as white light consumed the cantina. When her vision cleared 3 seconds later, Elena was gone. But she'd left something behind on the bar, another data chip. Xal'thera examined it carefully. More files, encrypted but not with military-grade security. These were breadcrumbs meant to be followed. Inside she found financial records linking a Terek 7 mining consortium to weapons trafficking, and a timestamp showing Elena had been on this colony for exactly 6 hours before Xal'thera arrived, just long enough to extract and encrypt this data. The pattern repeated across 3 more systems. Each time Xal'thera arrived to find Elena in a predictable location. Each time, Elena escaped by seconds, leaving behind evidence of criminal networks. Each time, Xal'thera forwarded the intelligence to the Council as required, and each time those networks were dismantled within days. On the 4th hunt, chasing Elena through the industrial corridors of Station Vex, 1, 2, Xal'thera finally caught up. She had Elena cornered in a dead-end maintenance shaft. No escape routes, no tricks left. The human stood with her hands raised, breathing hard but not panicking. "You're finished," Xal'thera said, her rifle trained on Elena's chest. Elena laughed. Actually laughed. "Am I?" "Tell me something, Hunter. In 15 years of chasing me, had you ever wondered why I always leave evidence behind? Why my escape routes are always just barely good enough? Why I've led you to 17 different criminal operations, and every single one got shut down after you reported what I left for you." Xal'thera's grip tightened on her weapon. "You're a war criminal. The evidence against you was manufactured," Elena interrupted. by me. 15 years ago, I put a bounty on my own head and made sure the best hunter in the galaxy would take it. You, Xal'thera. Because I needed someone skilled enough to track me anywhere, deadly enough to terrify my real targets, and unknown enough that no one would see the diplomatic implications. The words hung in the recycled air. Xal'thera's analytical mind raced through 15 years of pursuit. Every escape that felt staged, every clue that was just slightly too convenient. Every criminal network that collapsed right after she found Elena nearby. "You're lying," Xal'thera said, but her voice lacked certainty. Elena slowly lowered her hands, reaching for her jacket pocket. Xal'thera's rifle tracked the movement, but Elena only pulled out a small authorization chip, the kind used by high-level government officials. Tools. She tossed it to Xal'thera. The chip authenticated immediately. Commander Elena Voss, Director of Human Intelligence Operations, Level 9 clearance, reporting directly to the Human Coalition Council. The file contained 15 years of classified operations, every single one corresponding to a location where Xal'thera had found her. "I've been hunting humanity's enemies," Elena said quietly. "The ones we couldn't touch through official channels, arms dealers supplying insurgents, slavers with council protection, warlords bribing their way into legitimacy. I needed someone to help me destroy them without starting a war, so I made myself the perfect bait and waited for the perfect weapon to take the hook." Xal'thera's four eyes narrowed. "I'm no one's weapon." "No," Elena agreed. "You're the galaxy's most effective instrument of justice. That's why I chose you. Check your own records. Every target I led you to, every piece of evidence I left, they were all real. The crimes were real. The victims were real. I just gave you the map to find them." The maintenance shaft felt smaller suddenly. Xal'thera's mind processed decades of training against this revelation. She'd been used, manipulated, turned into an unknowing agent of human intelligence. But Elena was right about one thing. Every criminal they destroyed together had deserved it. "Why tell me now?" Xal'thera demanded. Elena's expression hardened. "Because there's one target left. The one I've been building toward for 15 years. The one I needed you to be ready for." She pulled out a holographic projector, and a face materialized between them. Xal'thera recognized it immediately. Xal'thera, a warlord who commanded a private fleet and controlled 7 systems through fear and violence. He was untouchable, protected by enough bribes and blackmail that even the council wouldn't move against him. "He's been funding everything," Elena said. "Every operation you helped me destroy was connected to him. The weapons trafficking, the slave markets, the assassination networks, all of it traces back to Xal'thera. But he's too well protected. His fortress is impenetrable. His security is absolute. No human operative could get close." Xal'thera understood where this was going. "But a bounty hunter could." "The best bounty hunter in the galaxy," Elena corrected. "One who's spent 15 years tracking an impossible target across hostile territory. One who's already proven she can adapt to anything. One who has a legitimate reason to be anywhere in the galaxy without raising suspicion." She paused. "One who now has a choice." "What choice?" Elena deactivated the hologram. "Walk away. Take your 8 million credits by turning me in. Retire wealthy and forget this conversation, or help me finish what we started. End Xal'thera and cut the head off the largest criminal empire in the sector." "Why would I help you after you manipulated me for 15 years? "Because you're not the type to walk away from unfinished business," Elena said simply. "Because in 4 decades of hunting you've never let a guilty target go free. And because I'm giving you the truth now, when I could have kept running forever." Xal'thera's rifle remained steady, but her mind was already analyzing the tactical problem. Xal'thera's fortress, his defenses, the challenge of reaching someone who'd evaded justice for 30 years. It was exactly the kind of hunt that had driven her entire career. "Show me the evidence," she said finally. Elena smiled, that same knowing smile from their first encounter 15 years ago. "I thought you'd say that." The next 3 hours, Elena laid out everything. Financial records showing Xal'thera's involvement in mass atrocities, communications proving his role in destabilizing governments, witness testimonies from survivors of his operations. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. More importantly, it was exactly what Xal'thera had spent her career seeking. Absolute proof of absolute guilt. He operates from a fortress on the moon of Dravix 9, Elena explained, displaying tactical maps. 3,000 security personnel, all heavily armed and fanatically loyal. Sensor nets that would detect any approach. Defense platforms that could vaporize a fleet. It's suicide for an army, impossible for a strike team, and completely off limits to official human military action. But possible for one hunter, Xal'thera finished. If that hunter had 15 years of experience infiltrating impossible locations and escaping impossible situations, Elena agreed. If that hunter had learned to think 3 steps ahead of everyone because her target trained her to. If that hunter was you. Xal'thera studied the fortress schematics. Her analytical mind mapped approach vectors, security gaps, extraction routes. It was the most dangerous hunt of her career. It was also achievable, barely, for someone with her specific skill set. A skill set that Elena had spent 15 years forcing her to develop. "You engineered this from the beginning," Xal'thera said. "Not quite a question." "I found the best hunter in the galaxy and made her better," Elena replied. "Every escape I gave you was a lesson. Every trap you fell into was training. Every criminal network you helped me destroy was preparation for the one that mattered most. I turned you into the only weapon that could reach Krethzar. And what happens after?" Elena's expression was unreadable. "After, the evidence goes public. The Council will have no choice but to legitimize the action, and you'll be recognized as the hunter who brought down the galaxy's most wanted criminal. What about you?" "I disappear," Elena said simply. "My career ends the moment this becomes public. Human intelligence doesn't get to operate in the shadows after something this big, but that's acceptable." This was always the end game. Xal'thera's rifle finally lowered. Not because she'd forgiven the manipulation, but because the mission itself was just. Krethzar deserved justice. The victims deserved closure. And Elena was right. She wasn't the type to walk away from unfinished business. "I'll do it," Xal'thera said. "But not for you. For everyone he's hurt." "That's all I've ever asked for," Elena replied. The infiltration took 6 days of preparation. Elena provided intelligence, access codes, and a black market cloaking device that might get Xal'thera through the sensor net. Might. The rest would depend on skill, timing, and the kind of improvisation that 15 years of chasing Elena had forced her to master. Xal'thera approached Dravix, 9 in a stolen cargo hauler, her presence masked by the cloak and false transponder codes. The fortress loomed ahead, a geometric nightmare of weapons and armor carved into the lunar surface. 3,000 soldiers waited inside, but Krethzar's arrogance was exploitable. He believed himself untouchable. The infiltration went perfectly until it didn't. Xal'thera made it through the sensor net, past the outer patrols, into the fortress's maintenance systems. But as she moved through the darkened corridors toward Krethzar's private chambers, alarms suddenly screamed to life. She'd been detected. Impossible. Her cloak was active, her heat signature masked. Unless... "Welcome, Hunter." Krethzar's voice boomed through hidden speakers. "Did you really think I wouldn't know Elena Voss's tactics by now? Did you think I wouldn't prepare for the weapon she's been building?" Xal'thera, her combat instincts taking over. The corridors erupted with security forces. She fought through them with brutal efficiency, her rifle cutting down targets as she moved deeper into the fortress. This was a trap. Elena's trap. Everything had been leading here. She burst into Krethzar's chamber with 30 seconds to spare before security lockdown. The warlord stood waiting, a massive figure augmented with combat enhancements, but he wasn't alone. Displayed on the walls were files, intelligence reports, communications, classified human documents. "Your Elena Voss is brilliant," Krethzar said conversationally. 15 years of preparation turned the galaxy's best hunter into a precision instrument. Aim her at the target. Watch her strike. Elegant. He gestured at the displayed files. "But I've known about her plan for 3 years. Every piece of evidence she fed you, I allowed. Every criminal network she destroyed, I sacrificed. All to get you here now, where killing me makes you her weapon forever." Xal'thera's rifle tracked him, but she hesitated. "You're Lying. Am I? Elena Voss has orchestrated 17 operations through you. Each one technically legal, each one conveniently avoiding diplomatic complications. But this one killing me in my own fortress. This one starts a war. The Council will have to respond. Human operations will be exposed. And your Elena disappears into the chaos, her shadow war complete. You've killed thousands, Xal'thera said. Tens of thousands. Krethazar agreed easily. I'm a monster. But I'm a monster the Council tolerates because I keep worse things contained. Kill me, and my empire fractures into a dozen warlords with no restraint. Elena knows this. She's sacrificing stability for vengeance, and using you to do it. The security forces were breaching the door behind her. Xal'thera had seconds to decide. Trust the human who'd manipulated her for 15 years, or trust the warlord who'd admitted to mass murder. Both claimed Elena was using her. Both were probably right. Her rifle swung back to Krethzar. Then I'm making my own choice. She fired 3 times. Krethzar's enhancements saved him from the first 2 shots, but the third punched through his reinforced skull. The warlord collapsed, dead before he hit the floor. Xal'thera activated her emergency recall beacon as the security forces flooded in. The device Elena had given her, supposedly a last resort extraction tool, detonated with enough force to collapse half the fortress. Xal'thera barely made it to her ship as Dravix, Nine's moon, shook with secondary explosions. She jumped to hyperspace with Krethzar's fortress crumbling behind her, uncertain if she'd done the right thing or completed Elena's final manipulation. The answer arrived 3 days later at a rendezvous point Elena had specified. Xal'thera's ship detected another vessel waiting, small, human-made, broadcasting Elena's identification codes. Xal'thera docked cautiously, her rifle ready. Elena was waiting in the airlock, but she looked different. Older somehow, despite only 3 days passing. The weight of 15 years showed in her eyes. It's done, Elena said simply. Krethzar said you engineered everything, Xal'thera replied. That killing him was your plan from the beginning. It was. He said it would start a war, destabilize the sector. Elena nodded slowly. It might. The Council will investigate. Human intelligence will be exposed. I'll face trial for unauthorized operations. But Krethzar is dead, and his criminal empire is collapsing. The evidence I've compiled will go public, along with everything I've done. The galaxy will know the truth about him, and about me. Xal'thera's rifle stayed level. You used me. Yes, for 15 years. Yes, to fight your shadow war, to fight the battles that needed fighting, Elena corrected quietly. I won't apologize for the methods, but I'll face the consequences. That data chip I gave you contains everything. My operations, my authorizations, my crimes. When you turn it in, the Council will come for me. That was always the plan. Xal'thera stared at the human who'd shaped 15 years of her life. You're sacrificing yourself. I'm ending it clean, Elena said. Krethzar is dead, eliminated by a legitimate bounty hunter acting on verifiable evidence. His crimes will be exposed. The victims get justice, and humanity's shadow operations end with me. You get to be the hero who brought down both the warlord and the intelligence director who went too far. No diplomatic complications. No endless investigations. Just a clean ending. After using me as your weapon for 15 years. Elena met her gaze steadily. After giving you 15 years of the most meaningful hunts of your career, every target was guilty. Every operation saved lives. I used you, but I never lied about the mission itself. You destroyed criminals who deserved it. That was always real. Xal'thera's analytical mind processed the implications. Elena had engineered everything, including her own downfall. The evidence chip would trigger investigations, trials, political upheaval. But it would also expose Krethzar's crimes, validate every operation they'd completed together, and end humanity's covert wars with clear accountability. It was brilliant. It was infuriating. It was the same kind of impossible planning that had defined their entire relationship. Why me? Xal'thera asked finally. 15 years ago, why choose me? Elena smiled faintly. Because you were the best. Because you'd never let a guilty target walk free. Because I knew that when you finally understood what I'd done, you'd still choose justice over revenge. She paused. I needed someone I could trust to finish it right, even if that meant trusting someone who'd eventually hate me for using them. Xal'thera lowered her rifle slowly. She did hate Elena for the manipulation, but she couldn't deny that together they'd accomplished something meaningful. 17 criminal networks destroyed, thousands of lives saved, and now Krethzar's empire crumbling. The council will come for you, Xal'thera said. I know. You'll face trial, probably execution. I know. And you're accepting this? Elena looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. I'm accepting that shadows can't fight in the light. My methods were necessary, but they can't continue. Humanity needs to move forward with transparency, accountability, and legitimacy. That starts with me facing the consequences of what I've done. Xal'thera stood silent for a long moment, processing 15 years in the span of seconds. Finally, she reached into her pack and pulled out the data chip Elena had given her, the one with all the evidence. She held it up between them. This will destroy you, Xal'thera said. It will, Elena agreed. Xal'thera turned the chip slowly in her hand, watching light reflect off its surface. Then she made her decision. Then I'll make sure it's used correctly. To expose Krethzar's crimes, to validate the operations we completed, and to hold you accountable the right way. Not as revenge. As justice. Elena's expression softened with something that might have been relief or gratitude. Thank you. Don't thank me, Xal'thera replied. You turned me into your weapon. Now I'm choosing to use what you made me for something that matters, not because you planned it, but because it's right. That's all I ever wanted, Elena said quietly. They stood together in that airlock, hunter and target, weapon and architect. After 15 years of chase, they'd finally arrived at the ending Elena had orchestrated, but Xal'thera had taken control of the final piece. Not as Elena's tool, as her own agent, making her own choice about how this story ended. The Council is expecting your surrender within 6 hours, Xal'thera said, checking her chronometer. I'll escort you. Elena nodded. I wouldn't trust anyone else to do it. As Xal'thera's ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying both hunter and prey toward their final destination, she reviewed the data chip one more time. The evidence was comprehensive, damning, and absolutely true. Krethzar's crimes. Elena's operations. The shadow war that had defined 15 years of Xal'thera's life. She'd been used, she'd been manipulated, she'd been transformed into exactly the weapon Elena needed. But she'd also delivered justice to 17 criminal networks and ended the reign of the galaxy's most dangerous warlord. The methods were questionable. The results were undeniable. In the cargo bay, Elena sat quietly, accepting the restraints Xal'thera placed on her. The human showed no fear, no regret, only calm acceptance of what came next. She'd planned everything, including this moment. But Xal'thera took satisfaction in one thing, by choosing to escort Elena herself, by controlling how the evidence would be presented, by making sure justice was served correctly. She'd taken ownership of the ending. Elena had spent 15 years making her into the perfect weapon. But weapons could choose their own targets, and Xal'thera had chosen truth, accountability, and the kind of justice that mattered more than revenge. As they approached the council station, Elena spoke one final time. For what it's worth, I never doubted you'd do the right thing. That's why I chose you. Xal'thera didn't respond immediately. When she did, her voice carried 15 years of complicated emotion. The right thing is holding everyone accountable, including you, especially you. I know, Elena said. That's why this works. The council received them with a fleet escort. Xal'thera turned over the evidence, provided her testimony, and watched as Elena Voss was taken into custody. The human who'd orchestrated the galaxy's most elaborate shadow war went quietly, her expression peaceful. The investigation would take months. The trials would be historic. But the evidence was absolute. Krethzar's crimes would be exposed. Elena's operations would be validated and condemned simultaneously. And Xal'thera would be recognized as the hunter who brought them both to justice. She'd been used. She'd been manipulated. She'd been made into a weapon. But in the end, she'd chosen how that weapon was wielded. not as Elena's tool, as an instrument of justice that served something larger than either of them. 15 years of hunting had led to this moment. And as Xal'thera watched Elena disappear into council custody, she understood the final truth. Elena hadn't just been using her. Elena had been training her to make this exact choice, to see beyond manipulation to the larger mission, to choose justice over revenge, to be better than the weapon someone else had tried to make her. It was the most elaborate lesson of her career. And she'd learned it perfectly. The human queen's final target wasn't Krethzar. It was Xal'thera herself, transformed from hunter into judge, from weapon into arbiter, from tool into the one thing Elena needed most. Someone who would end the Shadow War correctly. Someone who would hold everyone accountable, including the architect. Someone who would choose justice every time.